Joel Embiid, 5 for 18 from the field, 15 points, only 8 rebounds. Doc Rivers collapses once again. James Harden, a disappearing act. So many people could be blamed for the Sixers' collapse, and it was a pivotal, monumental collapse. But, Joy, who deserves the most blame for that collapse seen around the world?
15 points, league MVP in a closeout game after not closing it out at home. I mean, it was just an unenthusiastic performance. You've got to put it on Joel Embiid. There's plenty of blame to go around, and we are all going to discuss it. But at the end of the day, the biggest stars get the biggest share of the credit. And then it goes badly, and particularly when it goes badly, and you were a part of the reason why it went badly, you also have to get the lion's share of the blame. And look, I don't like getting into he deserve the MVP, and this is y'all's MVP. It's a regular season award, but it means something. And if you can't step up in the biggest moments, and this was the biggest moment, you've got to get the blame. I mean, that's not a performance. And then in contrast to what Jayson Tatum is doing, that makes it look even worse. So I've got to put it on Joel Embiid. He's had a lot of opportunities to step up big, and this was a moment that felt like it really was the Sixers. They had the momentum. They were the story. He's got the MVP. James Harden has these incredible outlier performances, and here we are with the Sixers out of the postseason again. It's just really disappointing.
There is no wrong answer to this question, and those are my favorite kind of questions, Kat, when there is no wrong answer. But let me provide my answer, and maybe you all will think it's right. Doc Rivers has to get the most blame from Emmanuel Acho. I can't do it how I want to because I told y'all my wisdom tooth hurt. But Doc Rivers has to get the most blame. Doc Rivers has lost an NBA record 33 closeout games. Doc Rivers has lost an NBA record 7 series when leading 3-2. Doc Rivers has lost an NBA record 10, count them up, 10 Game 7s. Doc Rivers has lost an NBA record 12 series when holding a series lead. Doc Rivers is an NBA record-setting loser. That's not me giving you subjective information. These are objective stats. Now, there is no Ben Simmons to blame. There is no chemistry turmoil to blame. There is no monumental midseason acquisition to blame. There is simply Doc Rivers having the chips in his hand and not realizing what to do with the chips. Doc Rivers was coaching as if he were Mazzulla, the 34-year-old who took over the team in the middle of the offseason. Doc Rivers was coaching as if he had never seen a scorer score at an elite level before. Couldn't blitz Tatum, couldn't double Tatum, didn't know what to do with Tatum. As if he hadn't coached against LeBron James, Kevin Durant in OKC, Kevin Durant in Golden State, Steph Curry in OKC, Luka Doncic, as if he had never seen an elite level scorer before. So, while I do in fact blame Embiid, and I will get to Harden, I got to start with Doc Rivers. Kat, where you at? Who do you think deserves the most blame?
That was a lot, man. That was a lot, because I love Doc. I love Doc, but, you know, listen, when you're dealing, what I saw was Joel Embiid every single year, I don't think he's in the best condition. So when you're not in the best condition, you have so much weight on those joints, things happen to you. And did he play MVP year? Yes, he did. But at the end of the day, like Joy said, you 15 points, 8 rebounds, 7th game, that's your game. That's your game. It's not Jayson Tatum's. That's your game to take. It's actually your game on the game 6. But then also, too, I have to blame Doc because where's your adjustments? Why are you letting Jayson Tatum score 25 points in 2 seconds, okay, and there's no double team, there's no nothing? Why is Joel Embiid running the wings opposed to right to the rim and then causing havoc for Horford and Marcus Smart's guarding me? No way, and I love Marcus Smart, but not in the post. 7 foot, 300 pounds? You have to dominate, and he did not do that, so I'm going to, and James, we'll get to that, but James didn't have his best games, Game 6 and Game 7. You got to give me one of them. And if you give me at least one of those games, if you give me Game 6 with 26 points and 10 rebounds by Joel Embiid, we're in the Eastern Conference Finals.
You made a fascinating point before the show that I got to bring to the viewers because it was one of the most fascinating things I've heard. I believe that a head coach is an aggregation of all the coaches underneath them. You brought up the point about Akeem Olajuwon, and you brought up a point of someone on Doc Rivers' bench. Can you bring up that point for the world to understand? Because it was very fascinating when you brought it up.
Well, yeah, because Sam Cassell, who's one of my close friends, I love him to death. Sam Cassell's been with Doc Rivers for years. Sam Cassell's won 2 championships, one of the best players to ever to play the game in Akeem Olajuwon. They had a certain offense. You cannot tell me Joel Embiid is not as talented as Akeem Olajuwon. So why is he in the post every single chance he gets? Why are you guys not running an offense through him in the post, not on the wing, not in the pick and roll where Boston adjusted to it and then put Williams in with Horford to make it look bigger because Joel Embiid's out 30 feet from the basket? Why is he not in the post? That didn't just happen this year. That happened when they played against Toronto. He's taking fadeaways on the left side, three-pointers as a 7-footer. That should be your guards, not you. So, again, I'm not sitting here blaming Sam because, he's just an assistant coach. I'm not blaming Doc by himself. But as a team, like Joy said, listen, you win together, you lose together. So you get the Joel Embiid conditioning, right? Sam Cassell should be, talking to Doc. Doc should be adjusting faster. But at the end of the day, it's just sad to see when you have so much talent because the next year is not guaranteed.
True.
And that's not how this works.
True. Very true. Slick, where you at with this?
I have to agree. And I hate to point at Doc because, to Joy's point, you have the MVP. He's on the floor. And I feel like we've lost a lot of our accountability these days, right? So I hate to give anybody who's directly involved a pass, like a Joel Embiid or a James Harden. But they didn't start out slow. They had a first quarter lead. They were up by 9 going into the second quarter. I can't help but feel, and Cuttino could speak to this, is that when your coach doesn't make adjustments and they're doing something that is working against you, like this, not just Tatum going off, but getting switches where Joel Embiid has to guard Tatum on the perimeter, you don't think that's taking something away from Joel Embiid? When your coach doesn't make any adjustments and you're getting cooked, that takes your enthusiasm and your belief in what you're doing out of you.
Big time.
And so that's where I look at this game in particular. I'm like, Doc, you're killing the enthusiasm you had going into the game through the first quarter. The Sixers were poised to win that game the way they approached it. But Boston made some changes, and they never adjusted to it, and that's where I think the game was.
Jayson Tatum used his strengths. I'm going to take a 7-footer all the way out 30 feet from the basket. Joel Embiid is 7 feet, 300 pounds. Who can guard him in the league? No one if he's 5 feet from the basket. So why wouldn't you use your strengths? Because this is what you do. You slow the pace of the game down. So now it's 94 feet. Now, guys are going from three-point line to three-point line. Opposed to when I played, you're all the way deep in the post, even if you're a guard, because you have to double Shaquille O'Neal, you have to double Tim Duncan, you have to double Kevin Garnett, you have to double those guys, and they're where? In the paint. So all of us are going to be a track meet. So Joel Embiid, you need to be in better condition to get from, baseline to baseline. And, Doc, your adjustments have to be a little better.
Incredibly fascinating. Well, I told you this show is action-packed. We just discussed what occurred in the game. But what occurred after the game, it actually riled up the fans just as much as a performance intra-game. The first reason it irks me is because I played for the Philadelphia Eagles in that city of Philadelphia. I understand those sports fans. A smirk after a game in which you not only lost, but you were completely underwhelming and you underperformed is not what your fans deserve, nor do they want to see. But Joel Embiid, the audacity you have in that moment, when we have been trusting the process since 2014, we have been trusting the process, watching you tweet back and forth at mega stars, watching you try to make yourself the biggest thing in the sports world. We have been trusting this process, and for what? To watch you go 5 for 18? From the line. But furthermore, Kat, at the end of the game, you want to mock, if you will, mimic Giannis Antetokounmpo, who said that quote, it's just steps to success. Keep in mind, Giannis had 38 and 20 in his elimination game, and I still came on air and said that was a shameful performance because he went 10 for 23 from the stripe. But at a minimum, if you're going to mock Giannis, then at least do what he does as well. Bring them the first championship in 50 years.
That tooth ain't hurting you right now.
Oh, no. Don't worry. That pain kicked in. Like, here's what I will say. If you're going to borrow Giannis's quote, borrow his heart. Because the smirk. I like that. Oh, Kat, the smirk.
I like that.
It completely disgruntled me because that just told me Embiid don't realize. He don't realize what was at stake. Not here right now.
You're so right. I like the borrow the heart part. That was amazing. Did you just make that up? Wow. That was good. That was good. Yeah, that was good. So, but listen, when I'm looking at Joel Embiid, what year did he come in condition? So think about this. He was hurt his first few years. You practice a habit you have a habit in life. Shaq was like that. Kobe got to get on him. Because it's certain things, if you can get away with it, right, that's fool's gold to everybody else. Because I'm sitting there watching you, okay, sooner or later he's going to break, his body's going to break down. James Harden, he was the whole offense in Houston. Playoffs, deep in the playoffs, your body breaks down. LeBron James is the only one I know, and Stephen Curry the only one, where bodies will not break down. You may shoot a certain shot or, field goal percentage or whatever it is, but the effort is 100% all the time. So you sit there and you smirk and you say passive-aggressive things. How should I take you? Should I take you seriously? Because it's not about me, it's about the kids that's watching you. So if I could just get away with it a little bit, there's no accountability. Because guess what? You've awarded the MVP. The year before that, you cried because you should have got it. Now you get it, and you have a game 6 to close someone out, and a game 7. Now they said, the basketball guy said, okay, you messed that one up, I'm going to give you game 7. Can you do it on game 7? And on game 7, you go 5 for 18. To me, I just don't understand it.
Speechless.
Well, I just think it's time we stop taking the Sixers seriously. Like, we have to stop giving the Sixers the benefit of the doubt. We talked a little bit about this last week with the Miami Heat. I mean, 17-18 season, lost Eastern Conference semis. 19, lost Eastern Conference semis. Lost in the first round, then lost in the semis, then lost in the semis, and lost in the semis. They're not that good of a team. They've had different arrangements of players. Joel Embiid has been the center of it. Sometimes he's hurt. Sometimes he's not in shape. Sometimes he has MVP seasons. It goes to Jokic. He gets upset. He comes and wins an MVP season in the same outcome every time. Let's forget trusting the process. I think we've moved past trusting the process.
Yeah.
But now it's just, I just don't trust this team anymore. So I'm not super outraged. I think what he's trying to say in a very weird, convoluted way, I think he's actually saying something positive about his teammates, like that it's not just him and Harden out there, like, we are a team. I just think he's not being very articulate about it. I think I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that he's not putting any blame on his teammates. The quote is a bit bigger. He's asked about Harden. I get it. The internet, he's talking about someone other than himself. I'm not as outraged at that as I am at the idea that I'm still continuously, every single year, supposed to take this team seriously as contenders, and they're not contenders.
Yeah.
They are habitually playoff teams. They win a series, maybe, and they end up disappointing. And I think at this point, the conversation really needs to be had of what do they need to do as a team to get over this hump, or can we just stop talking about them like they're contenders?
But Slick, this was the year. And again, maybe I'm biased. Again, I am a Philadelphia sports fan. They put a little bit of money, a little bit, emphasis on little, in my pocket. It was not a lot. But the 1 seed was knocked out by Joyce Heat. The Heat are maligned. Tyler Hero, their number 1 / number 2 scorer, is hurt. The Knicks are still a couple pieces away. The Cavs, they just became a decent Cavs team with Spidey Mitchell. Remember, they're still trying to ascend. The Celtics got a 34-year-old coach, and their 2 superstars, the second superstar was outplaying the number 1 superstar. If not now for the Sixers, then when? Embiid will start next season at 30 years of age.
Yeah.
So, Slick, one, what do you make of the quote, or just address the entire complexities of what's going on in Philly?
Yeah, you guys are expecting something from someone who isn't. You're expecting him to be a different person than he is. Like, Joel Embiid is not a serious person. He's never been a serious person. I believe you can be a regular season MVP of a team because of the way that you play, particularly considering what the competition did, and not be a guy who is the leader of a championship team. I believe that that's possible. And I believe that's what you're looking at. And if you could put anyone next to Joel Embiid that is not going to cultivate him or make him into something more than he is, that person certainly is not James Harden because he ain't serious.
He's in Miami. That person's in Miami.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
That person's in Miami.
Yeah. He
Cut up
was
like a julienne salad. If you get his conditioning,
he was
or
once
LeBron James conditioning, you're good.
He was once upon a time in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Right? So, and like, I've never taken them seriously.
Yeah, well,
right?
Yes, but
I mean,
but people do. Like,
I
we
know.
talk about the Sixers like they're a team that will be competing for an NBA championship.
Right.
So when I take those comments and the smirk, and I know the smirk would not bother you as much if it had been somebody else's quote that he was smirking
You
at.
Giannis's quote. He's slick. You make
Yes,
my mouth hurt. You
right?
make my mouth hurt.
I'm just telling you.
You make my wisdom tooth got pulled. I'm hurting.
Apologies. I'm not trying to heap more pain on you. But that said, that's the giveaway.
Yeah.
And there's always been that element with him. And I don't see it changing. And I think that there's, we all have fatal flaws. And you mentioned all the opportunities, right? How many people do we know that have opportunities? And you're like, why don't they go get that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they don't.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.